Welcome to Ask the Expert, an award-winning daily live show from 8:30 to 9 a.m. to help small businesses. If you have any questions, please do ask them in the comments of the live feed below. And if you need any more advice, please do join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook, where there are accountants and business experts on hand 24/7. During the live session, we will be running a poll, so please do engage with it and I will reveal the results at the end of the show. So I hope many of you will already know me, but for those that are joining us for the first time, my name is Eriona Bajrakurtaj. I am the Managing Director of Majors Accounts, which is a small family-run accountancy practice based in Southeast London. In terms of my educational background, I am a qualified chartered certified accountant with the ACCA, and I am a UK Practitioners Network panel member as well with the ACCA, as well as an SME Global Forum member. So today we've got a different kind of show from what I generally do. It's International Women's Day, so we will be celebrating women who work hard, but obviously not forgetting men as well, but we're going to be focusing on women today. So we're celebrating women's achievements and increasing their visibility. And the message for 2021 from the International Women's Day is: a challenged world is an alert world, and from challenge comes change. So let's all choose the challenge. I really resonate with this so much because I feel that without challenge, we can't make change, and we don't have something to really aspire to and work super hard to achieve, from my personal opinion. So my journey wasn't a smooth one. It has had many obstacles along the way, as with many people starting businesses. And I've been lucky to overcome these a lot as a student, as a businesswoman, and most importantly, as a mother and a working mother. Although I am a woman, I do want to celebrate, as I've said, all business owners out there, whether men or women, who are trying to make a success of their dreams, and they're having to make all sorts of sacrifices along the way. We're all in the same boat. But today I'm going to be giving my top tips to understand what has worked for me, what I've learned from my journey. And now these are, as I've said, these are top tips that have worked for me. They may, I hope that they will help everyone out there listening today. And these are things where, if I could go back when I started my journey and get advice, or tell myself this information before I started, these would have helped me, I think, a lot to prepare me for what was coming. So first one of these is mindset. And the way, we need to realize that in life, the plans that we have, they're not going to go how we plan step by step. We need to be happy with our own path and be resilient. So as we know that it's not going to go to plan always, we have to be able to pivot for obstacles that come along the way. So we're able to change our path slightly, but to ensure that we can still get to where we want overall, our overall goal. But you have to be able to pivot as things come your way. You need to be proud of yourself and your journey, and do not pay attention to what other people say. I had this a lot, as I mentioned, things didn't go my way at the start of my journey. I had a vision that I was going to go to university and go down the traditional route. Things didn't pan out that way. I ended up, I decided not to take my place at university. I actually went straight into a professional qualification. But at the same time, I had a daughter, I bought a house. My plan that I had envisioned as a young adult was not going how I planned to be. But at the end of the day, it's, are you happy with your journey? And although it may not go that way, in the end, it's important that you get to where you want to, or you may even get somewhere else, which may be even better than you envisioned when you first decided to make your plan, or when you first started your journey. But it's making sure that you're happy with it, and not kind of listening to other people and their judgments on what they think you should be doing. Now I am happier than I could ever be, and if I look back, this is not what I had planned for my life, how I wanted my life to go. But actually, I'm where I wanted to be initially, but the way that I got here was completely different to what I had envisioned. One of the most important things that I would say in order to get to where you want to be is to be organized and determined. So in order to achieve what you want to achieve. Personally, I make 5-year plans of where I want to be. I review these at least once a year, and very likely, as I'm going along, things come up and I will have to add or tweak that plan. But you need to be organized in order to achieve what you want to be, and determined to make sure that you do get where you want to go. Now, unfortunately, there is no secret. My third tip, shall I say, is hard work. There are moments when you feel down, but there is only one way to get where you want to be, and that is through sheer hard work, getting your head down and getting on with it. I know that at times, when it does feel like you've got so much going on and you think, oh, can I do this? And you start to lose a little bit of faith. I found myself just stopping and thinking, why am I wasting time thinking, can I do this or not, and so on? Just get on with it and things will work themselves out. So I find myself putting my head down and just getting on with it. And in the end, they do work themselves out. But without that hard work, it's difficult to get where you want to be. Top tip number 4, don't be afraid to ask for help. So I was so lucky with having the help of my family, with my daughter, with my studies. They supported me throughout, whether it was making me some food when I had exams, whether it was taking me to my exams, whether it was looking after my daughter when I had, all sorts of activities going on. But even a coffee, sometimes just asking a friend or family member just for some of their time so you can relieve some of that stress is so important, because you realize that life is actually a lot easier than you think, because you get to this point where it's only you've got all of these things going on and you start getting really down. But asking for that help from anybody, just for a chat, even something as small as that, can make a huge difference and can give you kind of that push once again, because we do all run low on fuel sometimes when it comes to these things. So you need someone to just help push you along. And now my last and most important tip is fight for whatever you believe you can do. So you may have people telling you can't do certain things, but personally, it's my philosophy to fight every step of the way, whatever it is that you're going to do, whether you're applying for a job, whether you're applying for a place at university, whether you're applying for a loan to start up your business. The way that I see it, the worst that can happen is if you go for something, that they will say no. You're guaranteed a no if you apply or not. So what happens if you apply and they may say yes? You've actually gone for something, and you may have thought, I'm not sure, but you never know, because some people may value what you do completely differently to you, because we criticize ourselves. I think it's in our nature to criticize ourselves a lot more. So going for things, I think it's so important. And an example of this for me personally was when I applied to go to Oxford University. It was a dream of mine from a young age to go to Oxford. But let's face it, it's not something that I ever thought I would be able to do, because of the prestige of going to Oxford, one of the top unis in the world. And a couple of years ago, I was actually doing another master's at that time. I was making changes in my business, completely revolutionizing it. And I saw this great opportunity to go to Oxford to study strategic finance with world-class teachers, with other students that were in all sorts of different fields that would give so much kind of enrich the course, basically. And I thought I'd apply for it. I thought, well, the worst they can say is no, I've got that guaranteed, so let's just go with it. When I got the result they emailed me to say you've been given a place, I was so shocked because I 100% did not think that I was going to get it just because of, the name of Oxford. But I got in. I had an amazing experience. I learned a lot. I made some great friends, and we've built working relationships out of that. And that was all from a whim. Shall I apply or not? If I hadn't have done, I wouldn't have had that experience. So I think in anything that you do in all areas of life, but especially in business as well, you need to just go for it, because you never know what could come out of that. So they were my top 5 tips. I try to narrow it down, but it's quite difficult. But these are things that I think are really important, and things where if I was able to go back and tell myself, don't stress, don't worry, because as with, it's normal. I worried every step of the way. Am I making the right decision or not? These are the things that I would have loved for someone to tell me. Now, I see we have quite a few questions coming in already, so I'm going to start taking these. We have a question from Angeliki from Twitter, who says, what have been your most satisfying moment in business so far? Also, what is the one goal in business that you want to achieve in your career? Okay, these are great questions. I think the most satisfying moment in business so far, for me personally, has been achieving my goal of going digital as a firm. So in our industry, in the accounting industry, most firms are traditional, and the thought of going digital was super difficult with my team, with clients, because they were used to a certain way of working. So my plan and my goal of completely transforming the business was a long journey, a difficult journey, but the fact that we've achieved it, and in just a few years, a couple of years or so, was a huge satisfaction for me, because I was able to achieve exactly what I wanted. And now, everyone is loving the way that we're working, both our clients and our team. So I'm really happy to have hopefully enriched the experience for all parties involved, and hopefully provide for a better working relationship going forward. The one goal in business that I want to achieve in my career, to be honest, I would love to ensure that we're in our clients' businesses on a daily basis. So I want to be there to help make a difference to their businesses. And with the changes that we've made, we now have the facility to do that. But I want to do that more and more, to give our clients and business owners insight into what their business is doing, and show them how we can help, how they can improve, how they can achieve their goals, whether it's to grow or be profitable. So that, ideally, I'd love to make a huge difference to somebody else's business, and just know that I was able to help with that. So that would be one of my business goals, I guess, long-term goal. We have a question from Helder, who says, morning, Eriona. Everyone, not just women alone, have this fear of failure in whatever they want to achieve in their lives. Have you had to deal with this as well? And how do you find your way out of this fear? That's a great question, Helder. That was me all over. I was scared every step of the way from the moment I kind of left A-level, so I left school, to, well, I don't know if you ever stop being fearful if what you're doing is correct or not, but every step of the way, I'd go to apply for a degree and I'd be like, oh, will I get in? I'm not sure if this is the right step. Once I got in, I finished that. Then with business, it was, I want to make this huge change, but I'm not sure. Am I going to destroy the whole business? Am I going to ruin something that it's not broken? It's a profitable, successful business, and I'm going in and saying, yeah, you see everything we've done so far? I want to scrap that, and we're going to work in a completely different way. So yes, that was super scary, but I think this is one thing that I had people questioning me, even with this plan that I had with the business. Why are you doing this every step of the way? But personally, I believed in it, and I wanted to go for it and prove to myself that I can do it. Obviously, you have to make sure you plan. There's other things that go along with it, but I was determined, and I had so many people every step of the way saying, no, forget it, this isn't going to work, you're going to see, nobody likes this plan that you're putting into place. But in my mind, it worked. And I really believed in it. So I just went for it. I think you have to go for these things in life, because if you don't, the regret of what you could have done is probably worse than the fear. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't. You've learned a lesson. There's You're always going to have these obstacles in whatever you do in life. So I think the main thing I would say is just go for it, because you may actually end up being a lot better than you thought it would be, or you learn something that you know not to do the next time. That's how I think of it, because you have to give yourself that freedom to jump in the deep end. We have a question from Janet from Instagram. It says, how has COVID impacted your business and your future business decision making? COVID for us, thankfully, didn't affect us too much, because we were all able to carry on working from home, from the next day after lockdown. In terms of business decision making, I think one thing that we had to change was how we communicate with our team, because obviously before we were mostly in the office, and we were able to speak to each other quite freely, and we didn't need big team meetings regularly. One thing that has come out of this with COVID is that we're actually having team meetings every single day now. Before we had them once a week. And we have individual meetings as well with our team, just to make sure that they're okay, because obviously they're alone and they don't have a team around them to support them. But it's just to let them know, how are you doing? Are there any areas we can help with, whether it's technically in work, whether it's themselves, how they're feeling being alone. But from doing this, we've actually found out so much more information from our team. They've been a lot more open, and we found that some people weren't happy in particular roles that they had. Some people were great at other roles. So we've been able to kind of mix and match and try and find the right roles for each of our team members based on what they've been expressing, and they're actually excelling in different areas of the business, which we wouldn't have known before, because we didn't think they would like those things. So I think this is something that we're going to keep going forward, because it's great for the business and great for them as well, because if your team are happy, then the work that they do is going to be so much better, and they're going to go the extra mile, because that's just basic human nature. We're not going to do as well if we're not liking what we're doing. So it's important to understand how they're feeling and make sure that we can give them the right support. So we're going to be keeping that up going forward. And also, I guess, the flexible working, which many businesses are talking about, we are going to be providing that opportunity as well, because we found a mixture of working from home and working in the office seems to work so much better. And we tested that out for that brief period we were out of lockdown, or restrictions were slightly eased. We had people coming back to the office for just a few days, just to get them away from home and have a little bit of transition from work and home, and get used to interacting as well with their colleagues. But in general, they liked it so much more, and they were a lot more productive. So this is something that we're going to keep for the future as well. We have a question from Marianne from Facebook, who says, hi Eriona, happy Women's Day to you. The theme for this year's Women's Day is choose to challenge. What is one thing that you want to challenge most, and why? Okay, this is a great question. One thing personally that I would love to challenge is, women to challenge themselves, if that makes sense. I speak to so many women who are worried, and they think that they can't do something because they're automatically inferior, to men, or they don't have experience, or they have children at home. They don't believe in themselves. This is something that I don't think there should be a difference between men and women, and some of that I think is generally in how women perceive themselves. If we're able to just say, I am able to do the same job as a man, for example, or go to, apply for, whether it's a degree, whatever it is, anything, just to believe in yourself, then there is nothing that you cannot do. Basically, one thing that my dad always told me is, if you look at somebody who is successful, what is it that they have more than you, that that they're doing that you can't? If they're healthy and you're healthy, that's great. You don't have those obstacles. They started, you have to think that those successful people started off somewhere. They didn't start off being successful. They worked their way up. So my dad always said, use successful people as an inspiration for where you want to be. And this is something that I've been really grateful for, because when I do see successful people, I'm like, wow, that is amazing. I want to be like that. And there's no reason I cannot be. With that, then comes the hard work and so on. So that's what I would say. Challenge yourself every single day. And that's what I try to do for myself personally. And I think it would be great if everyone is able to do that too, because you find, you can go so much further, and you find things about yourself that you didn't know that you can do. So that's why I think this year's message is so appropriate. I have a question from Abu Kate from Instagram, who says, what was it like to graduate from one of the most prestigious colleges in the world? Did the experience at Oxford shape the way you wanted to build a career? Honestly, my experience at Oxford was absolutely amazing. I think one of the best experiences I've had in any kind of education, and I've done quite a few along the way. I've done a couple of masters as well, one in accounting and finance and one in law as well. Obviously, I've also done my professional exams. So this was the fourth experience that I had. And the difference with this one was that we were in a room full of people that have had all sorts of experiences in the world of work and business, and you learn how, and from all over the world, by the way. So about 70% of the students were from everywhere, and there were a minority were from the UK. But you got to see how business works in loads of different countries, loads of different sectors and industries. And apart from obviously the education from leading professors, just the conversations that were had in class and understanding how people work and approach business all over the world was an amazing experience. And out of that, listening to them speak, it really made me want to change or open my eyes to different ways of working. Because if you don't interact with too many other business people, you think that only your way of working is correct, or you only know your own way of working. So one thing that I would say is, for everybody, if you're able to have, networking is so important, and because you learn so much more from everybody else. And this is something that I've done during lockdown. So many groups of accountants, and who usually you'd see each other as competition, but actually you're not. Working together, you can elevate each other and the industry as a whole if we all work together, just to make the industry a lot better as a profession as well. And we end up providing a better service for our clients individually as well, because we learn from each other. But it's important to do this with other industries as well, because the skills are so transferable, and what works in one industry you would have never thought in yours would work, it actually can, and you adopt it. And that's kind of how I've been working, and just hearing how they spoke and the changes that they made, I tried to implement in the way that we work as well. And just having that support from them, even though I graduated, graduation is not officially until later this year, but earlier this year, we still keep in contact and networking with each other to help each other out and provide business as well. So yeah, it was an amazing opportunity, which has really changed how I work, I guess. We have a question from Carmina from Facebook, who says, hi Eriona, the number of women entrepreneurs is on the rise in the last few years. What, according to you, are the factors behind this rise, and how do you see the future shape up for women in business? It has been on the rise, and I think one of the main factors attributing to this is the flexibility now that people are realizing that you can have in business. So a lot of women who may be working mothers, have people to look after, going to a 9 to 5 job, it was difficult for them to get into business. Whereas now they've got the opportunity to, use all sorts of online platforms to make work, fit work around their lives, not just having to go, to one place of work. They can do it remotely. They can do it from anywhere in the world, and be flexible in the hours, and are setting up good businesses for themselves. And once they get used to it, they're growing them. And women collaborating as well with each other, I think, is also a great thing to see, which has also been a contributing factor. But I think the fact that you can be flexible now with business, anyone can set up a business. The barriers to entry are not as difficult as they may have been years ago. If you use all the right tools, you can make work fit around your life rather than the other way around. So I think this is one of the main reasons. I have a question from Ryota from Twitter, who says, surround yourself with women who would mention your name in a room full of opportunities is a mantra I live by. What do you think we can do to uplift women in business and continue to strive for equal pay and women in senior positions, amongst other things? I think that's so important, to be with the right kind of business people. Women, but not just women, I would say. I've had the amazing opportunity to work with so many business people, and the right people will shout out your name and praise you for what you've been doing, which will lead to more opportunities. But obviously this isn't a one-way street. It has to work all around, you doing the same thing for other women and men. But seeing as it's International Women's Day, we're going to focus on women. But I think it's really important, and it's so easy nowadays to share when another business person is doing something great, whether it's a post, whether it's a like, whether it is just a share, that can make a huge difference. But I think one of the main things as well is the mindset has to change. We need to consider ourselves first as equals to men in business. Once we've done that, once you believe in yourself, then others will believe in you too. I think that's really important, and one of the main things if you're going to try and achieve equal pay. You need to show that you're able to do what you say you can, and you believe in yourself, then everything else, I feel, should fall into place. We have a question from Kaylee from Facebook, who says, it's International Women's Day. Who's your biggest female inspiration or someone you admire? Oh, this is a great question. Actually, I was reading recently on LinkedIn a woman who, when I read this story, I was like, wow, that is exactly the kind of thing that women should be doing. So the founders of Tinder, which is the dating app, there were 3 of them from what I read, 2 male and 1 female. And to cut a long story short, whatever happened, the woman was kind of pushed out of the business, even though she was one of the original creators. So instead of sulking and being really depressed and really down, although I'm sure she must have been, but she decided to get up and make her own business and become a competitor, and she created Bumble. And she's a direct competitor of Tinder now. And the way that she created it was to allow women to make the first move. So she made a spin on it, but it's an app that made women feel more comfortable on the online dating apps. And now she's, I think, one of the richest CEOs of creating her own business. And I think that is a huge achievement, to someone to come from something where she'd been a part of a business that created a successful business, to be pushed out, to then go ahead and do it again herself. So she proved to everybody that she can do it. And I think that's the kind of story, and something that we need to take inspiration from, just that message that you can do whatever you put your mind to, no matter what other people say. I think I have time for one more question, and it's from Edona, who says, what advice would you have for a young woman starting out on her career? Work hard, put your head down, believe in yourself, and you'll be able to do it. So unfortunately, that is the last question that I can take today. As I mentioned, I will be going through the poll results, which are in. We asked you, have you ever sacrificed anything for your employees? 67% of you answered yes, and 33% of you said no. So generally, a lot of business people starting out do sacrifice a lot of time, their own income for their employees, because they're having to take on staff because they want to grow. And in order to do that, you need to unfortunately sacrifice your own pay for some time whilst your business builds, and you have that support around you to help build your business. So I can understand that it's something that is normal starting off business. So I want to thank you all for tuning in this morning. If you have any questions, please do get in touch with myself directly through our website. We have a chat feature. You can download our app as well, which is great at giving you information as it's released. You can also contact me on all social media platforms, so LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. But coming up on Ask the Expert tomorrow is Nana Parry, who is founder and CEO of Tectonic, which is a boutique firm that helps businesses understand who their customers are and what they actually need. So tune in to get advice on how to scale up your business, your startup, and engage with your customers. A reminder that if you need any more advice, please do join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook, where there are accountants and business experts on hand 24/7. I've really enjoyed answering your questions today. I hope that's given you some insight into how you can grow and succeed in your career. And happy International Women's Day, and I hope you have an amazing rest of the week.